So today I want to welcome Derek Doepker. Derek, I'm so excited to have you here on the Jumpstart to Success program. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm honored to be invited and share what I can.
Thank you. Well, let's jump right in, Derek. Can you tell us about your background and what got you motivated to start your blog, excuseproof.com, and really helping people with your knowledge?
Yeah, so I have an interesting background. I didn't start out as a writer. I actually started out as a musician. I still am a guitar player, and I got my degree in music composition from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. So shortly after I graduated college, I moved out to LA to become a rock star, and had a lot of fun playing in a band and making music, but didn't really pay the bills. And so I was looking for a way to earn some income doing what I love. And I got this whole entrepreneur fix in me. And through some research, through some seminars and different things, I discovered this idea that we can share a message. We can share what we're passionate about, our skills, and help a lot of people, which I'm all about, and make some money and pay the bills and have a nice life. So that set me on a journey of reading books, and I kind of looked at my life and noticed a lot of people came to me asking for advice when it came to health and fitness. So I thought, I want to help my family and friends. They keep coming to me asking me questions. Why don't I just write it down? Why don't I start a blog or start recording some videos, and then that way I have something I can share with all the people I want to help. And it was fairly humble beginnings, but that's what got me going, and eventually started to pay off. I found my unique voice and built it from there. So I will just point out, whether we get into this or not, that it wasn't easy necessarily. I had a lot of self-doubt about who am I to share any type of advice. There's so many other people out there smarter than me. I'm just some dude that's a musician and guitar player and valet parking cars. But what I found is that by taking those steps forward, taking some of the leaps of faith, that I was, not only did I find I had a voice, but I was actually able to help certain people who they needed to hear something put the way I had to say it with my voice. And everyone listening to this, you all have some unique voice, something about your style and your personality and people you connect with, where you could say the same thing millions of other people have said, but it will only click or resonate with certain people when they hear it from you. So I believe we all have that gift that we can offer just by expressing our unique voice.
That's so powerful, Derek, because you're talking to someone that also came from humble beginnings. I started out cleaning houses and nannying. So who am I to start this program? Who am I to write this book? Who am I to do this? But people are learning, and that's when it's so exciting. So the same with you. I saw 6 books. So you didn't just do one and say, here's some ideas. You kept going, which is incredible. Very well done.
Oh, thank you.
So can you give some examples of your most powerful success techniques?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of stuff. I'll try to keep it to some of the most essential, important things that I can offer. The first thing is, I love this idea of momentum generates motivation. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times I know for myself, it's like I want to wait to get motivated before I do something, and then I'll just be sitting around forever. And instead, what I found is, if I can just do one little thing to move me towards what I want, then that will pick up. So let's say it's getting grades or creating a study habit. Instead of being like, well, I'm going to study every night for an hour or 3 hours or whatever it is, just say, can I just take 5 minutes right now to read a section of this book, or to do one little thing, and then I can come back to it later or whatever. And if I can create a really small target for myself, a lot of times once I get going, then I want to keep going. And so how this looks with health is, instead of being like, I'm going to change my whole diet, I'm going to start exercising, I'm going to do all these major changes in my life, instead it's, I'm just going to start eating 1 carrot a day, which is one of my videos. Or 1 vegetable a day at lunch. And it's so easy, I can't say no to it. But once I do it, then I start to feel good about myself because I'm following through on something I said I wanted to do, and it keeps building from there. So this could be like 3 hours of the psychology behind it and everything. But I would say find something that is a goal for you and pick a really easy target that you can hit. And here's the second and very important part, which is another success principle. Celebrate your successes. Celebrate all the little victories that you have. Because what I would find is if you ask yourself, what are 5 things that I accomplished in the last day or that I'm really proud of? What happens, I've noticed for some people, is it's hard to come up with these things. But it could be as simple as, I said something nice to a friend of mine. I gave him a compliment. I drank water in the morning. I did this one little thing. We don't recognize it, but if I say, think of 5 things that you felt like you screwed up or you didn't do well, our minds go, oh, I can come up with a list all day of all the things that I screwed up. So we have to sort of retrain our brains. It's great to recognize areas of improvement. We also want to recognize all the little things that we're doing well, because there's a good chance you're doing a lot more right than you are quote unquote wrong. So as we recognize the areas that we're successful in and find all the little things that you're doing right, all the things, if it's in school, it's not just about the things that, oh, I'm bad at this, I'm bad at that. Where are you strong at? There's a lot of different types of intelligence. One of your intelligence might be, I'm very good with my social skills, and that's a social IQ, emotional intelligence. I'm very skilled at these topics. And as you start to find your strengths, what I found is sometimes we can translate our strengths into other areas. So I might have said, there was a point in time where I wouldn't have considered myself a great writer or writer of poetry, but I'm good at music. And if I'm good at music, that means I'm creative. And if I'm creative, then I'm sure I can apply that intelligence to writing. And so I had to find my strengths and just tell myself, like, if I'm strong here, then I can start to apply that to this other area that might not be a natural strength for me. So recognize your little successes. And another thing I would say is a way to embrace failure is to really just see it as an opportunity to learn. And this is something that, a lot of people would probably say that. But for me, I look at it like it's all a game. If I'm struggling with something, if it's in school, if it's studying a subject, it's like, I like video games, so it's like this is just the next level and like this game, and how can I kind of figure out a skill set or a challenge to overcome it? So it now becomes like a fun thing that I get to work through and figure out strategies and ways to get better and level up my life, level up my intelligence, rather than just, oh, I'm not any good at this and I'm gonna feel bad about it. So celebrate the little things, give yourself small targets, and treat things like it's a game and a journey of learning and exploration.
I love it. Love it. This is the way you explain it. It's so simple. I love your video on eating 1 carrot a day. I've got celery in the fridge, and sometimes it just sits there. And after your video, I took a celery stick. I said, I can do this. And so, just small little things really make a big difference. So now,
Thank you.
Where did you learn these tips from? It's like, have you had to do a lot of reading to get to this level of success, or how did you learn it? Really trial and error?
I would say it's a combination of all of that. So when I was, when I was a teenager, reading and studying in school was something that was kind of a have to do thing. And what I found is that it's actually, I grew into loving learning. So if I can share another tip, it's learn to love the reading and the learning, because it might be like, oh, how am I ever going to use this in my life? Well, that's the question for you, because I look back now and I asked myself that question as a teenager, and I was like, I can't see myself using it. But now as an adult, I find all kinds of ways I can use the things I learned in school. And now I'm like going back and relearning stuff and reading books because I'm fascinated by this stuff, and the lessons that you learn, the it's like taking personal responsibility for how I can apply this in my life. So whether that's reading biographies of successful people, and then I go, what did they do and how can I apply that in my life? So I have to learn from other successful people. So that is reading, that's attending seminars, that's just studying role models, basically, studying even psychological research on all this stuff. So there's a lot of reading, a lot of research that's done as something I love. But then the other side of that, as you mentioned, is practice and experimentation. What works for one person may or may not work for everyone else. So finding what works for me and getting that experiential learning. So learning is not just something that happens from reading a book. If you read all the books on how to drive a car, you still don't know how to drive a car until you get behind the wheel and actually ingrain it in your body, and then you really get it. You get it physically and kinesthetically and that. So it's very important to take an idea that you learn or that you read and start simple. If you read a book that gives you 50 ideas for things that you can do, just start with that one. What's the one thing that I can start working on this week? And apply it as quickly as possible so you really get it. And it's this idea of practice. It's what I learned as a musician. All the books on music, all the sitting in a classroom being told about music that's just the starting point. It's important, but it's only when I sit there and I practice that I get better. And the other thing I learned from that is when I start, I'm going to be bad. We're all bad at what we start at. There's a quote that I love. Every master was once a disaster. So the practice is key, because just because you learn something and you try it once or twice or three times and it doesn't click, that's normal. That's okay. Recognize that's all part of the process of taking the intellectual concept and really ingraining it into who you are until it becomes effortless. So another quote of mine that I'll throw out there is the key to effortlessness is relentless effort, or another way of putting it, consistent practice. So reading and then application, studying, and the whole combination, all of these things work together.
Well, this is great. These are great tips, Derek. What would you say that we haven't talked about that you think would be one tip to take away from all your books? Would it be just to keep learning? That's what I'm thinking. Just keep studying, keep learning, keep trying, fail forward. What would be the message that you think would be important for a young person to take away?
Yeah, there's so many things, and I would say that if there was just one maybe tip that I could give that would really encompass a lot of this stuff, and it's like if I could just think about one thing to do in my life that would probably get all these other pieces in place, it would be this: create an environment that supports you. And there's another quote: environment is stronger than willpower. So especially for young people, I didn't get this, but I'm sure many teenagers hear this, and that is like you kind of become who you hang out with, who your closest friends are, and the environment that you're in. So ask yourself, do you have friends and people in your life that support you and encourage you, and when you do well, they congratulate you and lift you up and inspire you to do even better? Or are you around people that will bring you down or try to say, hey, don't get too big of a head. Oh, you're doing well in school, that means you're weird. If we're around people like that, especially in the teenage years, we're going to be influenced by that, and we can't help it. I mean, I'm very independent. I'm not going to just be swayed by the opinions of others, but even I am going to be impacted by the environment that I'm in. So if you're going to focus your attention on something, it's creating that environment where if I'm studying, do I have a lot of distractions in Facebook and things going on that are taking me away from it? Or can I create an environment that just allows me to focus? If you're at school, once again, consider who you're hanging out with. And I know the challenge is sometimes we can't always choose our environment. Sometimes we have a certain home environment, certain people that are just going to be at school or in our lives that we can't help it. So we can't always get rid of, let's say, the bad influences. Sometimes they're going to be around. But what we can do is be proactive about bringing in more good influences, about the things that we read and that we listen to. Things like this video is a positive influence in our environment. So that could be finding some mentors, some role models, and there's plenty of resources out there for teenagers about big brothers, big sisters, mentors, trainings, all kinds of things to get more of that positive support that you need. So it's the physical environment and then the people in your environment. If you get those to support you, a lot of the other stuff will start to take care of itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so important. And I also didn't realize that the power of that until much later in life. So I wish someone told me that when I was younger. So Derek, if people want to find more about you, is the best place your website, Derek Doepker, DOEPKER.com, or where else can they follow you and learn more about your videos and your knowledge?
Yeah, so that's one of my websites. I'd say excuseproof.com would be the main starting point to go to. You can check that out. And people are also welcome to just connect with me personally on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Derek, D-E-R-E-K, Doepker, D-O-E-P-K-E-R. And info@excuseproof.com is my email. So shoot me an email, anything I can do to support you. I personally read all the emails that I get.
Thank you so much for taking your time, your expertise, and your knowledge to share with these young people, Derek. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, and I'm happy to serve and support in any way that I can.
Thank you. Well, we're going to follow you. And what's next for you? Are you going to write another 6 books, or what's the pathway next for you, do you think?
There will be more books coming out, I'm sure. I love to write, and doing coaching and workshops and a lot more direct one-on-one work is something I'm really moving into, and probably speaking too. So lots of exciting things. I'm still discovering where I'm going as I go forward myself.
Me as well. Well, good luck to you. We'll follow you, and we look forward to what's next.
All right. Thank you.